Okay, I want to introduce a new concept for you in our learning about dancing with peers, and that is culture of children. Now, we learned about culture in previous chapters. The culture of children is culture that belongs exclusively to children. So when you see a group of children, they are in their own culture, in the sense that they have their own ideas, they have their own beliefs, they have their own philosophy, and they have their own rules for being. That's right. In a peer group, the kids have their own rules for being. And these are rules that are totally different oftentimes from when you have a group of adults. What do I mean? Well, if you look below, you will see one particular comic strip in which Gordon is introducing himself to two other boys. Now, as you read this comic strip, you see that the two boys who are meeting Gordon are surprised that they're hanging out with them because they're in second grade and Gordon is in third grade. Which brings us to the first rule within the culture of children. When you hang out with other kids, they should all be the same, that's right, the same age. You notice that? You look at any group of children, and the rule that seems to be is that they should all be the same age, or around the same age. Okay? Now, usually there's a second rule that states that not only should the kids in the peer group be the same age, but also the same gender. That's right. Boys hang out with boys, girls hang out with girls. Well, if that's the case, then why, in the second comic strip, do we see a girl hanging out with two boys? Well, you'll notice that they all happen to agree on the same theme of play, which is slaying a dragon. So, they're slaying the dragon, that's right, that's the theme. So in this case, we come to a third rule. Rule number one seems to be hang out with kids who are the same age. Rule number two seems to be hang out with those who are the same gender. Rule number three seems to be hang out with kids who enjoy the same kind of play that you do. That's right. So sometimes rule number three can cancel out rule number two, sometimes. Okay, then we come to rule number 4, which is evidenced in the third comic strip below. Notice how Gordon is trying to pressure Mike to go into a video game parlor, a place where Michael's mother forbid him to go. So what would rule number 4 be? Rule number 4 is when you're with your peers, it's okay to engage in deviant behavior. Or more specifically, it's okay to engage in deviant behavior that your mother wouldn't approve of or your father wouldn't approve of. It's okay. They're all together. So that would be 4 rules within the culture of children, right there. Okay, so now we come to part 2 of today's ICA. Now, below the 3 comic strips is a video about a group of children who call themselves Los Abandonados. And as you watch the video, you'll see why they call themselves that. And I want to warn you, it may be a little bit difficult to watch. Now, as you're watching it, now we come to, this is part 2 of the ICA this week. As you're watching, I want to see if you can identify other rules that pertain to the culture of children. So rule number 1 is hang out with those who are the same age. Rule number 2, hang out with those who are the same gender. Rule number 3, it should be the same kind of play they're all interested in. Number 4, it's okay to engage in deviant behavior. Let's see if you can find at least 2 other rules within the culture of children that are being exhibited by the kids in this video in which we learn about Los Abandonados. Okay? So for the ICA, part 2, see if you can find a couple of other rules within the culture of children as exhibited in the video below. below the three comic strips.